Welcome to Popcorn Planet. It's Kim, and we are going to recap day 23 of the Diddy trial. It is a Friday the 13th, and wow, did a lot of stuff happen. So we're going to get right into it because I've got a lot of notes, and I'm excited to go over all of them with you. Now, I was literally taking notes until about a minute and a half before I hit the stream button. So I haven't been able to go over them as much. I apologize if there is any stuttering or I'm like, oh, that's a repeat. It's not intentional. This has been a day of nonstop note taking because the action has essentially been nonstop in this courtroom. And I will also say it is possible that there may be some other notes at the very, very end that I'm going to need to check Intercity Press and see if anything else has been reported. So for those of you listening on the podcast, I apologize if there's like weird silences or anything. I'm going to do the best I can for you guys. So here we go. Diddy trial day 23. I'm going to try to make this bigger for myself. There we go. Now I can see better. That's good. Okay. So before the jury came in, the judge said that he wanted to settle the government's objections to one of the jurors, though there doesn't seem to be enough evidence to remove the panelist at that time. Hold on to that thought. The judge revealed that the issue could be about where the juror lives. We started getting hints about that. The government earlier this week said the panelist should be removed over lack of candor or a bit of dishonesty. It kind of sounds like a bit of lying. Now, what we found out was that the juror, reportedly, was a 41-year-old man from the Bronx. And the judge said that the juror made offhand remarks during a casual conversation indicating that his family had moved to New Jersey in recent weeks. So that was kind of the basis of what was going on. So the judge then said, my preference would be to hear from the juror, and it's likely there's a perfectly innocent explanation, said the judge. And he wanted to quickly resolve the issue and put it to bed. The judge also wanted to say that there was no basis for the allegation that the defense was making against the prosecution that this was a bias-related issue. There had been some allegations that the government just wanted to, they wanted to get rid of this juror because of race. And the judge just said, that's not what this is. Let the record show. Thank you very much. At that point, then the defense also told the court that it was likely going to object to questions about what I'm going to call arms, because I can't say the word that starts with a G. I'm going to have to use some trigger words today, everybody, to please the YouTube gods. So he was going to be objecting to questions about arms, saying that they could be a divisive issue, and he'd rather not have it on the minds of jurors. So that all got taken care of. Okay, fine. Agnifilo is going to object to everything. I'm in shock. The jury then entered. In front of the jury, the prosecutors read aloud some text messages. According to this reading, Diddy texted his then chief of staff, Christina Karam, we're going to hear lots about her today, everyone, in November of 2023, saying in part, make sure Robin is not doing anything dumb, like not having that rent paid on time. Can you make sure she's paid for this month, please? According to previous testimony, Robin was Diddy's accountant. Robin works for TriStar Sports and Entertainment, everyone. Today is a good day for people that believe in justice for Britney Spears. Let me tell you, we're going to keep going. Testimony has indicated that Diddy paid Jane for her rent in a Los Angeles home from 2023 to present day. Coram responded, according to the messages read today in court, saying, Robin said her rent was paid. If it was just Diddy paying for someone's rent, why would it have to go through his business accountant? It's a question I have, at least. Another message chain read today between Diddy, Cassie, D-Rock, one of Diddy's security guards, in January of 2017. And it's Cassie saying, my bathroom door is broken down. He's blaming me for going to someone else's house when I pulled over to see if I was being followed, and I was. Cassie texted him. He has my key, so I'm leaving. I do not feel safe. I'm not effing with anyone else. She later messaged him to say that 3 of her doors were broken. You know I can't take your keys from him, D-Rock said in a later message. He is here and you are there. I think that's the best thing for now. So Then we got our first witness, Andre Lemon, who is a Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent, and he was part of the search of Diddy's Los Angeles home. We've heard, I believe, from agents a part of the Miami raid. Now we're doing the LA one. So everybody, here we go. Off we go. The jury saw photos of items that authorities say were found in the nightstands of the master bedroom. One of the nightstands contained 6 manila envelopes marked with a K. A white powder in the bags tested positive for what we actually call on this channel, K. Several cell phones were found in the house. The jury saw photos of items that were inside a safe of one of the master closets. Diddy's passport and a plastic bag with a brown substance in it were found inside the safe. And the brown substance tested positive for, I'm going to say Dr. MA. How about that? We'll do that. There's the censorship for that one. Now, the agent said that HSI recovered about 200 bottles of baby oil. And get this, guys, I thought this was going to be the wildest thing of the day, and it's not. 900 bottles of personal lubricant. 900 of apparently Astroglide. The jury saw a photo of at least 16 boxes. I also saw reporting that said 18 boxes, full of lubricant bottles piled in the garage. The jury also saw a photo of a bag of baby oil and lubricant next to a pack of lingerie recovered from a closet near the master bedroom. The jury then saw photos of 6 arms, magazines, and unfortunately, again, I have to use censorship, items that are used to load an arm found in a security room in the home. The agent testified that when he arrived, agents responsible for securing the home had already laid out the arms and removed the magazines in accordance with standard procedures. He said that the security room had a safe, and agents also found 2 locks and a bag. Now, 3 of the arms were specific type that started with an R. If you are watching on the video, you can see what it is censored on screen if you are that curious. There was also one arm that started with a P, and one was, it started with an S. He testified that the serial number on one of the arms appeared to have been scratched or sanded off, which is very illegal. Agents also seized a drum magazine compatible with the arms. The witness testified that the drum magazines typically hold larger amounts of items used to load an arm, and this drum magazine could hold 60 rounds and 59 rounds of green tip items used to load an arm were found in the magazine. He said the green tip ones were designed to penetrate through body armor. So this is all very, very serious. They found stuff. So then we went into the cross-examination, which was by Agnifilo. I want to inform everyone in case they are not aware of this lore on this channel. We lovingly refer to Mark Agnifilo, one of Diddy's attorneys, as Costco lawyer because he made a public statement saying that it really wasn't a crime for Diddy to have, thousands of bottles of baby oil because maybe he just liked to buy in bulk. Maybe he liked to shop at Costco. He sat down and he said this, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Costco made a statement saying, we don't sell baby oil and we would like to be excluded from this narrative. Okay, I'm paraphrasing, but you guys get what I mean. So ever since then, we have called Agnifilo the Costco lawyer. And he started his cross today. So when he asked the agent if he was aware that a security team protects Diddy's residence and there was a designated security room where all of the arms were recovered. No arms were found anywhere in the home other than that security office, the agent confirmed. Now, the agent also testified that a special response team cleared Diddy's home first to make sure that it was safe for the other agents entering the raid. He said that the team's sole purpose upon entering the location is to look for people or if they encounter weapons to make sure that the weapons are safe. He said that the team does not typically take photos of the items on the property. Because of that, the agent said he didn't know if the arms were found inside the firearm safe, if the safe was locked, or if the door to the security room was locked when agents first arrived at the home. Agnifilo was trying to suggest that the agents had no idea where the arms were and that possibly the search was way less than thorough. We don't know whether these arms were in a safe or if they were splayed out, he said. And with that, the cross-examination finished and the agent was off the stand. Now, at this point, so we're still recovering from 900 bottles of baby oil and all of these arms being exposed. Ye, as he's calling himself now, otherwise known as Kanye West, arrived outside of the courtroom. Now, he was dressed in all white, wearing sunglasses. Bystanders shouted, "Thanks for the support, Kanye," as he entered the building. Now, Ye has been keeping a relatively low profile in recent weeks before making this appearance in courthouse today. Over the course of this year, he has not been low profile. He has been tweeting many things on his account, and a lot of them have been quite disturbing and terrible. Ye was reportedly directed, once he got to the courthouse, to an overflow room. He has publicly advocated for Diddy's release from prison, and he has been in regular contact with Diddy's family and is reportedly collaborating with Christian, his son, on an upcoming album. Now, in a lawsuit filed last year, Ye's former assistant had accused him of forcibly using substances on her and essaying her in an event co-hosted by Diddy. And reps for Ye did not comment at the time about this, so I don't really have a statement on that, but that is an ongoing case. Now, Kanye West reportedly left the courthouse about 40 minutes after he arrived. Ye walked out of the front doors of the federal courthouse, got in a car, and drove away. CNN gave additional details saying that Kanye arrived at the courthouse and the staff quickly jumped into action and prepared for him to come into an overflow room. West was stoic, and he went through security. He kept his sunglasses on as he passed through. Now, the court cleared the hallway around one of the courthouse's overflow rooms. And a security guard inside that overflow room told CNN that he was instructed to clear a bench in the back for West and whoever was with him. West eventually went into an overflow room on a different floor, so a totally different one. And he sat next to Christian, one of Diddy's sons, briefly, and then left. He was there for about 10 minutes. And that was it. So he showed up, he walked in, he sat down in an overflow room, got up, and left. But of course, after we'd had all this testimony about the Las Vegas party and all the rumors were flying, you can understand why this was a very big deal and everyone was very confused. But yeah, that happened. Now, I have to correct myself. There was an error in my notes earlier. The cross did not finish before Kanye showed up. It was still continuing. And this was when Agnifilo was asking the Homeland Security agent about the raid. And then they started talking about the baby oil. Asked if he had ever walked out of a tea-related raid with boxes of baby oil, the agent told Diddy's defense, "It's only been this one. Like, I've been a part of other raids before to do with tea-related cases, and I've never seen one with boxes of baby oil." And Agnifilo responded, "That's what I thought." Okay. Costco lawyer continued. "By Astroglide in bulk, that's what it looks like to you?" Agnifilo asked, and noted that the baby oil and lubricant were found in the house while all the arms were in the security room. The agent looked at Agnifilo quizzically and then cut his eyes towards the jury box. So it's like, okay. Why? Why? Makes no sense. Now, Diddy appeared to be particularly engaged with his attorneys today. Diddy seemed to be paying very close attention to the testimony of this agent. He was handing his attorney notes while this was going on. And he did at one point grab some tissues and he blew his nose quite forcefully. A lot of people are wondering right now if he has allergies, because I mean, I think we're all suffering right now. It's a lot. But yeah, that was that. So while the jury was on break, Prosecutor Comey brought up an issue with the judge. During the defense's cross-examination with the special agent, she said Diddy was nodding emphatically. And he was also nodding during some of Jane's cross-examination earlier this week. Even if Diddy is not looking directly at the jury, he still shouldn't be nodding like that, Comey said. And the defense attorney Brian Steele said Diddy hasn't been looking at the jury or acting and has been acting professionally. Mr. Diddy or Mr. Combs did nothing inappropriate all day or any day actually. Nothing? Okay. Now, the judge referenced the discussion that the lawyers had last week after Diddy was said to be trying to interact with the jury. The judge believes that both sides have since made the boundaries clear to their respective teams. There's going to be some amount of reaction to testimony that is given, and it's impossible to police every reaction from every person in this courtroom, the judge said, but he reiterated that efforts to communicate or influence the jury would not be allowed. Comey clarified that she was not seeking a curative instruction or suggesting Diddy be removed from the courtroom, but thought that it was inappropriate for Diddy to be nodding emphatically while his attorney was asking a witness a yes or no question. So, fair, fair. Fair, fair. Now we had a personal assistant, Jonathan Perez, to take the stand. Now, Perez agreed to testify, but only under an immunity order. Outside the presence of the jury, he invoked his Fifth Amendment, triggering an immunity order signed by the judge to compel Perez to testify. This is the fourth witness to testify under immunity at trial. Another Diddy assistant, George Kaplan, also testified, as well as Bana and Eddie Garcia, who worked security at the Intercontinental Hotel. Perez worked for Diddy between December of 2021 and this past September. Addressing his boss by several names, the witness said he, at different times, addressed Diddy as Diddy, P. Diddy, and Mr. C. Love. He testified that his annual salary was $85,000 and that he later made $100,000. Christina Karam, then Diddy's chief of staff, was Perez's direct supervisor. Karam and Diddy seemed to have a good working relationship, and some days it seemed that they had a good personal relationship too, Perez testified. Perez's typical hours were 9 to 9, and another personal assistant would work the night shift once he finished. Diddy typically had 3 or 4 personal assistants. Karam made him aware of what they called king nights, which Perez described as Diddy going to a hotel to have private time with a female. When asked, Perez described Jane as Diddy's female friend, companion, I'm not sure exactly. Diddy's staff would get anywhere from 2 hours to a full day's notice to set up a king night, he said. Whichever assistant was working the evening would typically set up the king night, Perez said. But Perez typically worked during the day, so he estimated that he only set up about 5 king nights for Diddy. And he said it was a lot of packing materials, making sure that he was going to have everything he'd need for 12 to 24 hours without having to bother anybody, Perez testified. Perez brought food, liquor, music, red lights, what we're going to call protection, lubricant, and sometimes honey. Because honey enhances the man's what I'm going to call urges, Perez testified. Perez said sometimes he also went to adult stores to purchase adult outfits and high heels, and he would pay for these items on his company card or with cash he got from security. Perez also cleaned up after king nights. The room would be just a bit of a mess and in disarray, Perez testified. Just like lots of sheets and towels and oils. He added, and Perez said the main purpose of cleaning up was to make sure no items were left behind. The former assistant testified Diddy and his guests would be tired when he saw them after a king night, and Diddy's staff would typically arrange for a meal, a massage, or an IV drip for him after one of these nights. The jury saw messages that Perez sent to Diddy and Jane on August 12th of 2023, involving information about a hotel room. Quote, just 2 candles and a room phone in front of the room door. I'm only 9 minutes away if y'all need anything, Perez wrote. The jury also saw messages between then Diddy Chief of Staff Christina Karam, Perez, and another assistant setting up a hotel room. In the messages, Karam asked if the room was done, and Perez said that he was going to run to the store to get outfits for Jane. In another conversation seen in court from May of 2023, Karam asked another assistant how cleanup was going, and the assistant responded, "Slipped and fell twice." I cannot believe that that is an actual statement that was read in court. They have proof of this. This is too funny. Perez recounted a time at Diddy's Los Angeles home when Diddy's videographer found a video of Jane and another man engaging in adult activities. Perez said the video was on an iPad usually used by Diddy's staff, and Diddy could be seen in the background of the video. Perez said he took the iPad and told Diddy and Christina Karam separately about the video that day. He testified that Diddy seemed surprised when he told them about the video. Karam told Perez that the next time he should give the footage directly to her and she would deal with Diddy. About 6 months later, Karam questioned Perez about the video and how it was found. She told Perez that she'd gotten a call from someone outside of the company talking about the video in some capacity. A recording of that conversation was recovered from Karam's phone, which was seized in 2024. Perez testified he didn't know that he was being recorded at the time, and the jury heard the recording. So the discussion heard in the recording involved how the video was found. Karam told Perez that she'd gotten a call from someone outside the company talking about the video in this capacity, according to the recording. And in the recording, Karam asked Perez to tell her step by step what happened and what he found the video on the iPad because an outside person brought something up about it. Perez told her that once he saw the video, he told Diddy, "Hey, I just found something on the iPad that the staff uses. I can lock it up for you. I can delete it. I just wanted you to make the decision." He told Karam that Diddy then deleted the video. In the recording, Perez told Karam he didn't have any other conversations about the video. He also referenced an investigation. Perez testified that Diddy thought that his phone or his data may have been compromised, and KK mentioned that Diddy wanted an investigation into what happened regarding the video and how it got on that device. Perez said that he didn't know if an investigation actually happened in the recording. Or didn't know if, I'm sorry. Perez said he didn't know if an investigation actually happened, but in the recording, Perez told Karam that he thought the video looked like it was set up and filmed on that iPad. Perez said he never spoke to Karam about it again, but at some point after that, Diddy's head of security, Fahim Mohammed, which I know many of you were asking if I could confirm if this is that person. Pretty sure at this point, Fahim Mohammed asked him about the day that the video was found. Perez testified that he relayed the same information and the same story he told Karam, and it never came up again. Perez did testify that Diddy's chef, Chef K, they're calling the person, also was in the room when the video was found, but he didn't mention it to anyone because he hadn't named her in his first account, and he was hoping that the incident wouldn't become a big thing. Then we had lunch, and one of Diddy's attorneys spoke to the judge about the juror, and the judge said they could do that another time. After lunch, Perez returned to the stand. The prosecution showed the jury a photo of a Gucci pouch. Throughout this trial, we have seen a lot of mentions of certain pouches that held different substances for Diddy and also funds. So right now we're talking about a Gucci one. Perez said the pouch belonged to Diddy and it was specifically filled with substances and money. Diddy also had it with him, always had it with him during King Nights. Perez testified that he obtained substances for Diddy a handful of times. He got various substances from someone named Guido and Baby Girl, he testified. He would pay for the substances with cash that he got either from Diddy's security personnel, the Gucci pouch, or a top drawer. The jury saw a message that, according to prosecutors, Perez sent to one of Diddy's security guards, Fahim Mohammed, in February of 2024. Perez testified that Fahim usually handled cash for Diddy, and in his message, Perez said in part that $700 went to Guido. He testified that Mohammed would submit receipts for the money used to buy these substances. So there's another one. And then there was a text after this. Perez wrote, "I'm still waiting for funds from TriStar, Mr. Combs' business managers." The prosecution asked, "Who'd you interact with at TriStar?" And Perez responded, Robin Greenhill. And I will give all the Britney fans a moment to dance now. For those of you that do not know, Britney Spears has referenced TriStar Entertainment as well as Robin Greenhill and Lou Taylor to do with her conservatorship. And she does talk about them in her book as well. And a lot of Britney fans have been asking for years for there to be an investigation into TriStar Entertainment. And I hope that we are closer today on that front than we have ever been. My goodness. Perez testified that he dropped off the items at Jane's house to set up for her night with Diddy on June 18th, and then later dropped off Diddy a few hours later. Diddy called him on FaceTime and seemed angry and annoyed, and his voice was raised, Perez said. He was also asking me to confirm whether or not another female had been on a trip we went on the week prior, Perez said. Perez told Diddy no, and Diddy thanked him before hanging up. So this is the call that we've heard about before in, I believe, the violent incident, unfortunately. Perez testified that he saw Jane on the call, but her back was to the camera, so he never saw her face and she didn't speak. Perez said the entire call lasted about 20 seconds. Perez said that he stopped working for Diddy in September of 2024. He said there was a lot going on personally for Mr. Combs, and there wasn't a lot of communication about what was happening, so I thought it was a good time to leave and hopefully avoid a situation like this, Perez said. He testified that the last time he talked to Diddy was the day that the mogul was arrested. The prosecutor asked Perez how he feels about Diddy now, and he said, "I feel great about him, the same way I felt when I was leaving my employment," Perez responded. And with that, the cross-examination began. So Brian Steele was assigned to cross-examine Perez, and Steele started his cross-examination by confirming with Perez that he still respects Diddy. Perez also confirmed that he's seen Diddy sad and cry at times while working with him. Now, Steele asked Perez if he recalled seeing Diddy cry on October 26th of 2023. Steele showed him an exhibit to try to help Perez to recall that Diddy was upset that day, but he said he didn't remember seeing Diddy cry. Steele asked Perez whether he would sometimes do things of a personal nature for Diddy, even if it wasn't part of his employment. Perez agreed that setting up king nights and purchasing substances would be classified as personal instead of work-related. He confirmed that it had nothing to do with his work, and he didn't believe he was getting paid to do those things. So we're trying to fight the RICO now. Perez confirmed that he would help Jane pick out lingerie and heels and dresses for her. Jane trusted Perez with his opinion on what to buy. Steele asked Perez if Jane ever appeared to be hesitant to go to a king night, and he said no. Steele also asked Perez to confirm that Jane seemed like a willing participant in these king nights, and Perez said yes. Now, again, we've heard that some of these nights that Jane did with Diddy, she was okay with, and then other ones she was not. And it's written at points that she doesn't want to do it. So I get what the defense is trying to do, but I don't know how strong that's going to be up against the evidence that is written and even in voice memos as well. Perez confirmed that when he was asked that he never saw Jane seeming upset or unhappy after a king night. Steele returned to Perez's previous testimony about a staffer finding the video on the iPad at Diddy's Los Angeles home. Steele asked if the concern about the video centered on the fact that a personal private tape was on a business iPad. Perez agreed. Perez estimated that he spent about 1% of his time working for Diddy dealing with personal matters like setting up for king nights and obtaining substances. Perez confirmed that Diddy and his people, and the people close to the rapper, never told him not to speak about things such as king nights or substances. The former assistant confirmed that they only told him to tell the truth. Perez also confirmed that he never saw Diddy strike a woman or anyone else. Perez testified that he used his company card to buy personal items for Diddy, like outfits for Jane, at adult stores. Perez testified that he doesn't know whether these charges on the card were paid off by company funds or by Diddy's personal money. Steele showed the jury a series of texts from different times throughout Perez's employment, in which Jane talked to Perez before and after king nights. In some of the texts they planned for king nights, including packing items like underwear and other messages, they discussed tasks for Perez to do for her or Diddy, and Steele asked Perez to confirm that on all those occasions she didn't seem upset about the messages. And then in the redirect, the prosecution asked Perez if buying personal items for Diddy was part of his job. He said yes. So that was kind of a moment where it was like they're trying to distance, Perez buying these personal items and being like, well, it wasn't really part of his job. But prosecution's like, isn't you're a personal assistant? Isn't getting items for Diddy a part of your job? Okay. Then the recross happened very quickly. Steele then asked, it was TriStar which designated the payments, not you, right? Perez responded yes, and then got off the stand. So it kind of felt like at the end of the day that Diddy threw TriStar under the bus, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then we had the after jury. So testimony's done, and now we're going to talk about the juror. The judge addressed the juror issue. The judge looked over the transcripts regarding the juror and does not believe that there was evidence of bias. The juror indicated that he moved to New Jersey with his girlfriend, and it may not be permanent, but it had been there for the past few weeks. When the juror returned, he said that he was in New York from 4 to 5 days a week. Then in the roaming room, he said the daughter, that was the wording, the daughter, I'm assuming it's his daughter, lived in New Jersey. Then in the Bronx with his aunt. Then he said he lived with his girlfriend in New Jersey. And the judge also said that there was more in the letter from the prosecution, which is not on the docket. My guess is it's sealed, so we can't see it, but there's other information going on. The judge also said that there were serious questions about his candor and ability to follow instructions, and the judge ruled that the juror would be dismissed, saying, when there is a question like this, the removal of the juror is required. Now, at that time, Diddy's attorney Donaldson then asked to make a record. So, for the appeal, essentially. They did not want to inquire because it might have had a chilling effect. It's very common to have a girlfriend in New Jersey or vice versa. He should have been allowed to explain. These jurors have been attentive. He then said, I am concerned that the court is equating inconsistencies with lying or hiding something from the court. If you bring him out here, we can come to some sort of understanding. He has come here every day. I've been in this court for 20 to 30 years. There have been issues with representation of African American and Hispanic jurors in this district. We've taken a step with this jury, and now we're taking a step backward. Some say Black and Hispanic jurors don't answer the call. He did. The judge then asked if the government had anything to add, and the prosecutor said, I have nothing to add to your Honor's ruling. Mr. Donaldson is suggesting we make the decision here based on race, but the focus here is the integrity of the proceeding, and the alternates have also been showing up on time. The judge then said that in jury selection, the juror said that he lived in the Bronx with his fiancée and his daughter. There was no reason to lie, but to try to get onto this jury. And then he said that he had moved to New Jersey, adding that his daughter had been living in New Jersey. He said, all my bills go to the Bronx. It's that he wanted to be on the jury. After the break, he says he spends more of his time in the Bronx, which is flat inconsistent with what he'd previously said. The juror is shading answers to stay on the jury. The judge said that the right thing to do was to move to the alternate. Donaldson then said that it's going to be a less divisive jury. Oh, no, sorry, it shouldn't be divisive. It should be. Donaldson then said that it was going to be a less diverse jury and that it was important to get a representative jury. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up as a note, 8 men and 4 women are on the final panel of the 12 jurors, with a further 4 men and 2 women listed as alternates. On the main juror panel, 4 are white, 2 are Hispanic, 5 are Black, and 1 is Asian. And of the 6 alternates, 4 are white and 2 are Black. So this is still a very diverse group of people, which I think is a good thing. Agnifilo then decided to give his own argument. He said, There was a state case that there's a difference between principal jurors and alternate jurors. I know I'm throwing the ball in the end zone with New York law. And then Brian Steele got up and took his turn and said, you know, they bring this up now after weeks of watching the jurors' reactions. Now they go back to jury selection. Everyone knew, but no one did anything. At least bring the juror in to potentially explain. At this moment, the judge responded, "This came up this week in an organic way. If the defense knew it before, that's something else," which I interpreted immediately as shade, big time. Like, oh, well, if you knew that he was lying, why didn't you say anything earlier? That's concerning. I'm going to thank Mr. Donaldson and Mr. Agnifilo for the issues they raised. If there's a change in my thinking, I'll let you know. The prosecutor then said, for the record, we had no idea during jury selection. And then the judge asked for a sidebar, except there was no jury in the room. So the press was all just kind of sitting there like, what are we doing now? And then the judge came out and said, we have a sensitive matter to discuss, and everyone must leave the courtroom, and the courtroom will be sealed. Well, for the first time ever, as we've been doing these recaps, the court was not fully adjourned at the time we started the recap. It's been very surprising today, and it definitely seemed like the judge wanted to keep some things out of the public eye to do with this case. So, the last tweet that I had read you guys before I had to kind of cut and splice this together was that the judge had returned to the courtroom to say we have a sensitive matter to discuss and everyone must now leave the courtroom and the courtroom will be sealed. So I had figured, well, that's it for the day then. Right? We're done. Nope. They came back. So after a too long sealed courtroom, it is being reopened. An inner city press is now going to report and tell us what's going on. I do not have coverage from another source. I am not seeing it anywhere. So inner city press is going to let us know what the heck happened. So after a bathroom break for the defendant, Combs's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, said the New York case I cited was based on the New York, not U.S. Constitution. A voice said, but it's still a constitution. And again, no summary about what was said in the sealed courtroom. And it definitely sounds like the press is a little bit confused as to what the heck is going on here. The judge then said the only reason KK took the videos at issue was because lawyers in the civil cases asked her to do so. Prosecution then said it goes to KK's knowledge. At this same time, Jane testified that she was talking to KK. The prosecution then also said, one of our witnesses next week will testify that KK had access to Mr. Combs's phone and texted from it. The judge then said the relevance is her knowledge. And the prosecution said, and that she continued to facilitate hotel nights after knowing. Garagos, one of Combs's attorneys, then said, it was Jane who asked for the Four Seasons. Anytime she went to Two Star, KK left the premises. Comey, from the prosecution, then said, Jane coordinated her flights with KK, at least two of the instances of the alleged ST. Mr. Combs gave her liquid substances. The judge then said the defense's objection to these exhibits is overruled. Anything more. So to me, that sounds like there were some videos that the defense did not want coming in to do with KK and Jane. They're coming in. It was not blocked. So the next issue then came in. Driscoll, one of Combs's lawyers, said the government has essentially abandoned the claim that Gina, well, no, I went too fast. No, okay. So gave her liquid Molly. Defense objection, exhibits overruled, anything more. Combs's attorney, Garagos, said D-Rock ended his employment in 2017. He needed to pay for his grandmother's gravestone. He asked Mr. Combs for money. Butler is grateful. How is this relevant? Garagos then also said, beyond employment, Mr. Combs and Mr. Butler, D-Rock, have been friends for decades. Judge said, I find that persuasive. Next issue. So I guess there was something that maybe they were trying to block about D-Rock. The judge listened. Okay, we moved on. Combs's attorney Driscoll. The government has essentially abandoned the claim that Gina was a victim. Prosecution. The exhibit rebutes their argument that Mr. Combs bought the the Intercontinental Hotel video only to protect his reputation. But this shows, as to Gina, that he was aware that law enforcement can get involved in DV. Gina has become a major part of this case. The judge then said, I am excluding Exhibit A-629A. It is unfairly prejudicial, outweighing any probative value. Driscoll then said, we have more objections. The prosecution said, Brandon Paul is going to testify next week, as well as another personal assistant. And the judge said, so I don't exclude them. Brandon Paul was arrested, I believe, the day of the raids, and has been associated with Diddy as someone involved in substances in his circle. So that was definitely a shock. And I'm going to do one last reload and see if we got anything new. I don't believe we do at this time. No, we do not. So that means that our recap is going to end here. What a day. What a day. If you were watching on the live, stay exactly where you are. We're going to wrap things up. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm so sorry if this is a bit choppy. This was a crazy day with lots of information. And I'm so, and in the recap, for those of you that watch the recaps as well, thank you so much for watching this whole episode or listening to this whole episode. I really, really appreciate it. I will ask you to please like this video, subscribe, follow, all the things on whatever platform you are accessing this from. We really, really do appreciate you. And we will be back possibly Monday. If not Monday, Tuesday next week. And if not Monday, we will do a recap of Monday and Tuesday on Tuesday, and get you guys up to speed on what is going on in this Diddy trial for days 24 and 25. So we will go from there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.